It is finally happening in full view, in unmistakable manner, in a way that the awake, the aware, and the conscious can perceive in alarming stunning terms. The central force of Europe, the industrial juggernaut, the stable core, has begun to pivot east. The Germans have had enough, fed up with destructive US activities of all kinds. For the last few months, they have been laying out their indictment, their justification, their reasons to abandon the corrupt US-UK crowd. The bank wreckage, the market rigging, the endless wars, the sanctions which backfire, the sham monetary policy, the economic sabotage, the spying, the gold gimmicks, it has finally reached a critical level. Germany has begun to move east in full view. Only the deaf, dumb and blind cannot notice, and they will probably never notice. They are fodder. The awaited signals seen by the Jack have finally arrived. Berlin is outraged by clear US scoffed spying, and in process of conducting a gold audit among their population. Germany is building motives to split from the Euro monetary union, common euro currency, by forging stronger open ties with Russia and China. The justification is becoming plainly laid out, in 4 perceived indictment charges. Germany will break from US/UK and its US dollar fiat currency regime over 4 primary thorny issues. By Jim Willie, goldenjackass.com. The grand stage leans east for the European players, with steps taken to the right, the weight having shifted, the messages suddenly more angry, more filled with disgust, more loaded with open confrontation. The commercial forces aligned with Russia are coming to the fore. The departure after a recent re-election by Chancellor Merkel should serve as the final slam of the hammer. She stood in the wrong camp, the banker and politician camp. They do not run Germany. The marriage is over, the glow gone, the lawyers in the room, the bitterness in the open. Those exciting Saturday nights with the Germans and French enjoying a good ride with Mustang Sally are over. The once vivacious, peppery, exhilarating relationship with steamy backroom sessions has turned ugly, old, nasty. She has lost her appeal, and worse, has turned vicious and destructive. Sally has stolen the jewelry, wrecked the credit lines, undermined the day job, and backstabbed the neighbors. As time passes, more joint accounts are seen as drained. Sally must go. The once thrilling tosses replete with the excitement of a bucking mare have turned into a kick to the head, a broken bed, as the acidic buck has fallen from grace and burns holes everywhere. The lascivious flow has turned blood red, hardly a monthly matter. The only thing holding the relationship and tight liaison together is the heavy narcotics flow through NATO bases and major European banks. Regardless, Sally must go. Her devious devices, tools, ploys, nasty friends, and antics threaten to wreck the European industry supply lines and heated homes. The nation's accounts are depleted. Sally must go. Her hide is more like a kicking old hag with warts where a sexy smile once resided. Her trust is nowhere. She is wrecking the European house. Sally must go. When Germany turns away from Sally, and shows her the door, it will be clear in the global country club that Sally is gone. Then eastern winds will blow some fresh air on the putrid parlors. Berlin indictment charges. Berlin is outraged by clear US scoffed spying, and in process of conducting a gold audit among their population. Germany is building motives to split from the Euro monetary union, common euro currency, by forging stronger open ties with Russia and China. The justification is becoming plainly laid out, in 4 perceived indictment charges. The Jack believes Germany will break from US/UK and its US dollar fiat currency regime over 4 primary thorny issues. The 4 are major indictments, all extremely serious, all indicative of a decayed system and morally bankrupt leadership. The charges are coming into view, highlighting fundamental commercial, philosophical, and ethical conflicts that distinguish the two nations, considering US/UK a single entity. The issues center on the following key differences. 1. Good relations with Russia and continued energy supply from Gazprom. 2. Displeasure over planned Draghi Euro Central Bank bond monetization. 3. Disgust over NSA espionage by US Govt, with benefit for US corporations. 4. Damage to German population from gold price suppression. The damage began with the refusal to repatriation German official gold by the New York Fed. The damage ends with the US Govt NSA espionage. Germany is very angry, sufficiently motivated to part ways with the US/Anglo camp. The plan to make distance from the British and Americans appears to be well along in execution. The critical stake in the ground was the prosecution, investigation, and forced actions during the Deutsche Bank actions. The trained eye and informed view notices the intense activity for the last 2 years, as closing all the back doors from the gold halls. Some major eruptions can no longer be brushed aside as simple anomalies. The boils, open sores, and deep rashes are visible everywhere. The London fix is being abandoned, Deutsche Bank forfeiting its seat, regulatory bodies in a deeply corrupted London centre concluding nothing askew and all is well. The Labour scandal has some German ignition points, with no prosecutions anywhere in sight. The forex and gold derivatives are under intense scrutiny, again with a German hand to unwind the corrupted arenas, with massive naked short raids continuing in the last 2 weeks. Exit US dollar, enter gold standard. The plan seems obvious for Germany, to exit the US dollar, but first to embrace the euro as a caretaker currency platform before the Eurasian trade zone comes together and offers a gold-backed continental currency with broad shoulders. All of Europe will rally around the euro flagpole, hunker down during the other financial harp-like storm, bearing Weimar nameplate, and ride the storm until the Russian-Chinese hard asset currency arrives. The BRICS have invaded the mainstream Western stage and hold a banner for all to see. The stage has been altered, its weight shifted, leaning to the east. Tremendously important historical events are occurring. The King Dollar is wounded mortally, having fallen off the throne, looking weakened, haggard, and ashen. Sympathy for the US-UK corrupt violent vindictive crew has vanished. Next comes the assaults on the European Commission, that corrupt dem. The path to the gold trade standard is becoming visible, the key break being the divorce between Germany and the US/UK fascists. It complements the divorce between the US and Saudis which has occurred since March. That break has been detailed in public Jack essays. The German break is the new event, with current episodes absolutely mesmerizing for their importance and shock. Some US press sources are awakening. The United States government has treated France and Germany like adversaries, even enemy camps. The BNP Paribas case was atrocious for its devious ploys, giving old-line Europeans a kick to the head. The US rats have infiltrated with organized networks of espionage agents. The press prefers to describe them as merely eavesdropping. In reality they are gathering information on Germany's strategic planning, on Germany corporate contracts in development, and on German political functions. The consequence is a coordinated indictment taking shape which will result in the final steps coming to pass in the global paradigm shift. The US dollar will be chucked into the dustbin of history, but first, it will be kicked to the used car scrap heap where it awaits finally processing. That processing consists of the conversion of US Treasury bonds into gold bullion on a massive scale at numerous offices. The BRICS banks are ready to do business. They are too, the Development Bank and the Contingency Reserve Arrangement, CRA. In time the CRA will be known as the new IMF for its function, while the Development Bank will be known as the Central Bank housing gold. Espionage against ally. The attention has gone from Sally to ally, the relation turned quietly hostile. Not the queer conversion of GMAC into an empty bag lending institution, but rather the key Central European ally in NATO. In the past hat-trick essays, items number 1 and number 2 have been addressed, focus having been on the deteriorated Ukraine situation and the antagonistic Bundesbank position. The US fictional output from destructive fracking and deceptive shale projects has been pledged to Europe, in a massive ruse that is vacant on its face. Huge 95% write-downs of shale oil reserves like by Monterey in California, combined with departures of fracking firms like Medallion in western Pennsylvania, testify to the fact that the US government strategy is a ruse with empty tube. The German central bank has challenged the Draghi Euro-CB not to embark on destructive unsterilized bond monetization. In the past, the Euro-CB policy disagreements on phony bond patches and bond monetization have been the source of great conflict, even with German High Court rulings against the Euro-CB. The LTRO, long-term refinancing operation, is but another device from the same Weimar laboratory, a mere banker-con game with super seniority rights to favor the elite investors. In extreme focus in the past month is item number 3, the nefarious NSA espionage. Those who call it eavesdropping miss the point. It is not about catching juicy information on politician affairs. It is not to grab lead on Merkel's next luncheon for tabloid display. It is to seize information on Russian and Chinese developments and plans, on the commercial front and financial sector respectively. It is to infiltrate the German computer systems and communication systems, probably to plant Trojan horses for later leverage and blackmail at the state level. The Berlin officials are well aware. The entire NSA espionage chapter appears to be exploding on the scene. In fact, word has come that Russian intelligence offices tipped off the Berlin officials about the US Gov NSA activity before arrests were made last week. The Snowden files are being used in important ways. The Central European source stated briefly, the comical part in all this is that Russian intelligence FSB and GRU tipped the German authorities off by providing the leads. The Germans followed up quickly, so quickly that a divorce is the conclusion. In the meantime, the German-Russian cooperation with trust develops while the German-Anglo trust withers away. The break between the Germans and the fascists from US-UK EU may be closer than ever, as history is turned on its head since World War II. The entrenched fascists on the global financial war front are the Americans and British accomplices, the big corrupt banks being the pillboxes. They will be abandoned, or toppled. At risk is the NATO alliance. If and when Germany pivots fully eastward, the NATO membership will be rendered empty chair with a speakerphone attached. Gold room crime. On item number 4, a national audit seems underway inside Germany, as part of a criminal investigation. The purpose is not made clear, but the agenda seems obvious to the jackass. The Federal Financial Supervisory Authority, BaFin, has asked German banks and investment intermediaries to formally hand over data about clients' investment in precious metals until mid-July. All the depots will respond. The state wants to determine the extent of private sector German investment in gold and silver. The BaFin has requested copious information about client investments in precious metals from German banks and asset managers. But the requested information is only about derivatives. A national audit seems the path to determine damages to institutions and citizens alike. They seek certain precious metals or groups of precious metals as reference value, as well as shares in precious metals. They cite the Securities Trading Act and the Capital Investment Act, much like an attorney would before the court. Explicitly mentioned are exchange-traded funds, exchange-traded commodities and certificates, which involve gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. BaFin has requested information from 2013, such as details on volumes and order size, in addition to methods recommended. The national audit is underway, even if not stated in public and clear terms. The entire gold issue began as a major sore spot when the New York Fed refused to repatriate 330 tons of gold from the German official account. Since that event, it has been like pulling a thread in a sweater. The full purpose has not been revealed, but a multi-sector national audit for precious metals market losses due to corruption seems the ultimate motive. To be sure, BaFin has been making formal inquisitions on alleged gold price manipulation for more than a year now, especially at Deutsche Bank. The bank has many vice presidents actively squirming, as they reveal key data on London frauds, cutting immunity deals for themselves. Thus the London mid-level bank emerges with ties to Germany. Many believe the investigation of German gold investments could possibly be related to extensions of the Forex and gold market investigation underway at D Bank. The suspicion from the German front is to identify the extent of potential damage caused to investors by gold price manipulation. BaFin told Gold Reporter in a written statement that the inquiry was routine and that the probe does not relate to investigations on alleged gold price manipulation by Deutsche Bank. Conclude therefore that a bigger purpose is at work, to take account of national damages to German financial firms and German citizens. Furthermore, and not incidentally, many German citizens have large accounts in the major Swiss bullion banks, where corruption is rife, the secured gold illicitly sold. Ongoing class action lawsuits are in progress, kept well under wraps. Miscellaneous hints and wins. Many are the other scattered indications. They are growing fast like open windows, all facing the easterly winds. The July Money War report for the hat-trick letter offers details, but here are some in synopsis form to mull over. The mosaic is filling in, the collage telling the story. The Germans are going to give Russian partner a bear hug and the US bits the cold shoulder. As a German official recently said, enough is enough. The German Government has instructed its companies to limit cooperation and procurement orders with the US corporations. New strict guidelines on security are to be enforced, as the fallout grows. They are installing no-spy clauses in German contracts to guarantee that untrustworthy US firms do not relinquish confidential data. The effect will be felt by IBM, Cisco, and Microsoft. The effect has already seen an impact with a cancelled Verizon account, where suspicion runs thick of planted blackmail, Trojan horses and virus seeds. Severing ties with Russia, crushing relations with China, alienating France, and angering Germany has managed to sour relations with old friends to a point where one wonders just who is a remaining US ally in Europe these days. Germany will sever banking and business ties with the United States, as a matter of survival, all in time. NATO is a major clue. Stephen Lieb has noticed Germany and China making a stronger alliance, along with Russia. While the US scoffed spies on Germany, corporate trade secrets too, Berlin is turning eastward. The Jack has been adamant, how Germany is the linchpin in the Eurasian trade zone coming to form. India is important, but Germany is the game changer. Lieb notices how the Germany is being called strategic partners by Chinese leaders. He notes the growing relations with Russia. He concluded, perhaps the United States is spying on her, Merkel, because of her closeness to not only Russia, but also to China, and her distancing herself from the United States. It appears that the German-Russian-Chinese connection is getting stronger and stronger, and their connection with the US is becoming more distant. It feels like the world is changing in front of us. Do not be surprised to see gold and silver being the ultimate safe havens, but also gold being sure to play a part in the new reserve currency in the East. This means the price of gold will soar as that scenario begins to unfold. We are very close to that point of inflection, and every news story of any importance that I see proves that is the case. Leading analysts are noticing the German linchpin. Lieb detects a new gold-backed currency launched from the East like a ballistic missile. It will contain Russian and Chinese markings, a BRICS guidance system, and elite private consultant designers. Sally must go, the greenback to yield to the redback. Massive demonstrations in German cities have taken place, aimed to end the Federal Reserve. Consider Lars Mayhels, main organizer of the massive Monday peace vigils in Berlin. The recurring vigils are part of an autonomous, fully independent movement that gained massive popularity in the capital city. Like with the Occupy Wall Street movement, their advocates are under attack, in this case violent. Mayhels is the object of severe criticism by the German mainstream media and political system. Worse, a car he was riding in was the object of a firebomb incident by an anonymous perp. Lars had received online threats of exactly such actions. The cover-up went into action quickly. The local police decided that the car caught on fire by itself, and are not investigating the case. Luckily neither the organizer Mayhels nor his companion were in the car when it was set on fire. The common finger of suspicion points once more to Limey, where the professionals ply their trade. Memories of Operation Gladio remain fresh during 3 decades of sponsored Langley violence. Germany has suspended shale gas drilling for the next 7 years during a political standoff with Russia, the nation's main gas supplier. Not only are shale projects a source of contamination, but they rub Russia the wrong way. They will be halted. Besides, they have deep concerns that exploration techniques could pollute groundwater, even sap electricity capacity. The dangerous fracking in Germany will stop for the foreseeable future, which wins praise from the environmental groups in the country. The Halliburton chemicals, monopoly in fracking business, are reputed to include toxic additives far beyond those necessary to release the natural gas, like heavy metals and even radioactive waste. Notice in Germany, how common sense prevails over corporate greed, corruption, and corrosive global agenda. Germany and China are developing a special relationship, forging some new deals in the automobile and aviation sectors. The nations are embarking on deals to build helicopter and car plants. The deal precedes high-level meeting between the German Chancellor and Chinese Premier. China is the magnet and Germany is being drawn into its vast sphere. Hundreds of German firms do active business in China, led by construction firms and equipment suppliers, as well as car makers and machine tool firms. The main contracts featured the purchase of helicopters from Germany, worth over $400 million. Germany's enthusiasm has come with gusto toward the construction of the Silk Road economic belt. It will serve all Europe. Over 3,000 German companies do active business in Russia. Those who expect a German boycott of Russia as part of US-soft sanctions are true morons. The more pressure the US leaders apply, the more they will break apart the NATO alliance with a crowbar. Expect new blockbuster contracts with Volkswagen, Siemens, Airbus, Deutsche Bank, and Lufthansa, all very popular brands among the rising middle class in China. BMW sold 500,000 cars in China last year, which they would prefer not to cut off. Honoring lunatic US-led sanctions means hundreds of thousands of German job losses. As an added spice, an eco-park will be built in Qingdao which will showcase energy-efficient buildings, using German engineering. The link is clear. Germany is going east for trade reinforced by secure energy, which is certain to cause a rift and split for US relations. The US cannot stop evolution, where the Western European nations forge stronger ties with Russia, which on the return lane provide reliable cheap energy supply. At risk is the entire system of NATO bases across Europe, which have been abused with narcotics distribution, and recently overrun by professional mercenaries. Neither narcotics trafficking nor accommodation of private mercenaries are not part of the original NATO treaty. Coming soon, the BRICS currency. The climax event is the launch of the BRICS currency. Informed sources, whom the jackass believes are directly involved in the planning, execution, and implementation, informed that the new currency will be gold-backed with further backbone in silver, crude oil, and in some manner natural gas. The Gazprom gas pipelines are far more important than the financial press mention. They are the skeleton and distribution system by which to capture Europe and to install the new gold trade standard. The hints of its arrival are seen in the details for the BRICS Development Bank and the BRICS Emergency Fund. Without any hesitation in my mind, it is clear that these funds will serve as fronts for massive conversion of US Treasury bonds into gold bullion, which will reside in the BRICS Central Bank. The decision for location of the funds might be haggled in the open, but expect the central bank to be dispersed, using various key locations. The BRICS nations are all too familiar with US and Langley tactics, to destabilize, to raise internal dissension, to launch a war, and to steal the gold in banks amidst the chaos and confusion offered by the maze and din of war. The war in Ukraine, just like the war in Syria, and the attacks on Cyprus, all had Gazprom as common element. The wars are to defend the US dollar, in the last stages of its reign of terror. The harder the US gangsters pull on the reins, the more they apply the fracture from the lever. However, Ukraine is the Waterloo. Yet comes the dreaded Holodomor, famine, since no planting season took place in the fertile rich lands. Thus no growing season during the outbreak of war. Thus no harvest season. Starvation during a collapsed economy will surely turn the tide against the US-led fascists in Kiev, all in time. Mass defection among their ranks has already begun, the fascist forces running low on supplies like ammunition, food, water, surrounded and until a hail of grenade fire at numerous locations. Thefts of their central bank gold and raiding official bank accounts by the US-led regime assured the outcome. Do not expect Germany to continue its reckless NATO support in this failed mercenary action. The ultimate victim of this desperate adventure will be the US dollar and NATO. The hat-trick letter profits in the current crisis. Not only have I seen many of the things you talk about in the public arena come to pass, but I have seen many of the things you say repeated 3 months later by the other analysts. Congratulations. Manim in England. Your hat-trick letters reports are like the food I like to eat, nutrient-dense, high-fiber, many rich single and combined flavors, unadulterated, very colorful, especially your turn of phrase, unique, tidbits from all over the world. I always look forward to them too, a very satisfying feed, read, with original connections between ingredients and forward culinary thinking leading to new dishes from heretofore unimagined recipes that are obvious from hindsight and take some time to chew and digest. Nick from Australia. Jim Willie is a gift to our age who is the only clear voice sounding the alarm of the extreme financial crisis facing the Western nations. He has unique skills of unbiased analysis with synthesis of information from his valuable sources. Since 2007, he has made over 17 correct forecast calls, each at least a year ahead of time. If you read his work or listen to his interviews, you will see what has been happening, know what to expect, and know what to do. Charles in New Mexico. A paradigm change is occurring for sure. Your reports and analysis are historic documents, allowing future generations to have an accurate account of what and why things went wrong so badly. There is no other written account that strings things along on the timeline, as your writings do. I share them with a handful of incredibly influential people whose decisions are greatly impacted by having the information in the Jackass format. The system is coming apart on such a mega scale that it is difficult to wrap one's head around where all this will end. But then, the universe strives for equilibrium and all will eventually balance out. The Voice, a European gold trader source. Jim Willie CB is a statistical analyst in marketing research and retail forecasting. He holds a PhD in statistics. His career has stretched over 25 years. He aspires to thrive in the financial editor world, unencumbered by the limitations of economic credentials. Visit his free website to find articles from top-flight authors at www.goldenjackass.com. For personal questions about subscriptions, contact him at jimwillie@aol.com. 1. Jim Willie, global war has begun, Russia-China alliance will destroy the US dollar. 2. Jim Willie's most shocking claim ever, Japan, Saudis, and Germany will turn against US, join Russian alliance. 1. Jim Willie Bombshell, China and Russia have accumulated over 40,000 tons of gold reserves for USD replacement. 2. Jim Willie, Holy Grail currency deal coming between Germany and China. 3. Jim Willie, modern battle of the Bulge as Russia dumps bonds through Belgium, buys gold. www.silverdoctors.com web link. www.dinarrecaps.com web link.